Good evening. Tonight is a horror story based on abduction and surprise for both parties. Now sit back and relax. Author name: Certain Shadows. Story title: Night Delivery. I was halfway to the front door when I felt the barrel of a pistol press into my side. "Get back in the car," a menacing voice breathed into my ear. "Make a sound and you'll be dead before anyone can reach you." The pizza box in my hands suddenly felt as heavy as lead. "Please don't do this," I whispered shakily. "Just take my keys out of my pocket and go." Instead, the man dug the gun so sharply into my ribs that I nearly gasped in pain. I turned and walked to the car as he followed closely and threatened to put a bullet in my brain if I tried to run. By the time I climbed into the driver's seat, my pizzeria uniform had grown damp with cold sweat. For the next half hour, I drove at gunpoint. My boss called me over and over again, right up until the man threw my still ringing phone out of the window. "Do you believe in fate?" he asked, but I was too afraid of saying the wrong thing to answer. "Well, I do now," he continued, undeterred by my silence, and flashed a smile that frightened me. "You walked into my life at just the perfect time." I thought about telling him that this was supposed to be my final night on the lousy job that made every shift feel like an eternity, and that I wanted nothing more than to go home and crawl into bed and never so much as look at a slice of pizza again. But I knew I would only make him angry, so I kept my mouth shut and gripped the steering wheel so tightly that my knuckles turned white. Finally, he commanded me to pull into a secluded cluster of homes, where the man pointed towards a gray house with an empty driveway and grinned wickedly. "We're gonna wait for them to come home. Then you're gonna take that pizza box and knock on the door. When they open it and tell you they didn't order anything, I'll charge on in." "Are you gonna hurt anyone?" I asked warily. He narrowed his eyes dangerously, and my heart skipped a beat. "Just do what I say," he replied callously, "and then you can leave." But I didn't believe him. Time passed. The scent of tomato juice and garlic hung heavily in the car's tense air. "I'm starving," he said, and reached for the pizza box. He'd consumed 2 slices and was working on a third when I saw confusion flicker in his eyes. The gun slid from his grasp, and he began to frantically claw at his throat, gasping desperately for air. Foam bubbled up on his lips as he wheezed and convulsed. I watched as his accusatory glare faded away into a pale, lifeless blue. And just before my captor died, I spoke the last words he'd ever hear. "It wasn't meant for you." Personal thoughts. Right, well, my first thought was, who was it meant for? This person is just a pizza delivery driver. I wonder, do they have a family? Was this meant for the whole family? A murder-suicide type deal. Clearly the man wasn't happy with his own life. This kind of thing happens more often than you'd want to know. But after this event, I wonder, would it put the spark of life back in him? Perhaps. But then how would he explain the body? And how would he explain the presence of whatever poison he used in his system? Assuming they do an autopsy, but I imagine they would. Nevertheless, this did turn out positively for him, compared to the alternative.